In terms of sort of these ongoing topics that I come on and talk about, again, always happy to hear what people want to hear about. But one I have been thinking about, I guess, this week is self forgiveness. Um, yeah, it came up in a meditation I did yesterday, I think it was, with not that I was doing the meditation with Deepak Chopra, um, but that I was doing their meditation, and self forgiveness came up, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot, because I would say, on my journey to self acceptance, um, that I don't know if you like 100% arrive at. Self forgiveness has been one of the big ones. Um, that is a challenge. Um, and I think part of that is because in self forgiveness, come on, my internet apparently is being weird on my Instagram. Um, I think last time it cut in and out. I don't know why it's doing that. The internet is not connecting to my phone in this room. Hi, Sam. Just talking about self forgiveness, and what I was saying was self compassion being a big part of that, which is something that I am learning to cultivate. Um, and in some of that is learning to, I guess, set realistic expectations of yourself, um, and understand that you're not perfect and you don't need to be perfect and that you're enough as you are. I think a lot of my issues and other people's issues come from this expectation, like this standard that you hold for yourself that you don't hold for anyone else. So personally, I have a lot easier time forgiving other people, and accepting their flaws than I do my own. So a lot of my work too is extending that acceptance and understanding, compassion, um, on myself that I can extend to other people. Um, yeah, I don't know if anyone has anything that they, the five of you that are here, um, if you have anything that works for you for self forgiveness, or questions you have about it. Um, yeah, so I think that piece around setting lowering your expectations of self, um, and working on perfectionism, which again ties into sort of self-worth and believing that you are enough, um, and getting clear on the emotions that are coming up for you around like why you can't forgive yourself, or what is it that you're really struggling with, um, and spending some time processing those emotions, feeling them, giving them space, and then get like I always say, getting really clear on what the thoughts are around that. Like I shouldn't be experiencing this, or I'm a bad person, or I shouldn't have done that, or I should know better. If there's shoulds, a lot of shoulds in there, it's usually a sign, um, that you're not feeling good. Hi, Heather. Um, so yeah, getting clear on what the thoughts are around that, and then what the emotions are that come from those thoughts, um, around your non-forgiveness. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Lorelai says, Dr. Kristen Neff has a lot of useful exercises and mindfulness meditations on her website. That's what helps me. That's awesome. Yeah, I think I have encountered her website as well. Depending on the situation, love saying that's not my fucking problem. Yeah, that's great too. Um, it's not always easy though, because sometimes it really does feel like our problem, you know? For me, I have found one of the most helpful things is like making meaning out of the experience. Um, okay, Lorelai also says she focuses all on self-compassion, and it's good. One of the meditations is called Soften, Soothe, Allow, and I like it a ton. Awesome. I will check that meditation out. I feel like Dr. Neff has like a compassion workbook or like worksheets. Um, yeah. So one of the things I personally have found is making meaning out of the experience. So for example, not to TMI, but I mean this comes out in some of the stories that I've told about myself. But one of my challenges is around self forgiveness has been staying in a relationship that was really unhealthy for me for a really long time, um, and forgiving myself for that. And so a lot of the ways that I am working on that or have been able to do some forgiveness is making meaning out of that experience. And um part of that is because I'm in a really good place now that I can look back on and say like that was totally necessary in order to get to where I am now, and here's all the positive things that have come out of that, and here's all the ways, the positive attributes or skills or whatever that I've acquired from being in that relationship. um, and that again, some identifying some thank you. It's Lorelai says it's not TMI. It's always a struggle of like how much do you just divulge about your life. But I think it's valuable that people hear from coaches that they also struggle with similar things. So um yeah, really making meaning out of why I went through that, and being like, content with the past having happened exactly like the way it needed to happen in order for me to be where I am. And like it happened that way because it is. Um it happened, and there's nothing that I can do about that, and spending time beating myself up about it doesn't change it. So the only thing I can do is make meaning um out of that. Obviously, in terms of offering some self-compassion, like I said earlier, it's easier for me to offer compassion to other people. So, exercises like writing myself a letter as though I would um, like a friend, and giving some insight and looking at myself at the time in my life and who I was and why. Like, it makes sense. Like, there's all kinds of reasons why I stayed in that relationship. Um, and if a friend was telling me that or I watched a friend go through that, I'd be like, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't, you suffered a lot, but it totally makes sense why you stayed and why you got into it in the first place. And look at all the things that you got out of it. Look at all the ways that you grew. Um, and again, like I am entitled to make mistakes. Again, I don't know about the word mistake, because again, when it has meaning, when I don't know if I view it as a mistake, but yeah, I'm allowed to, yeah, we'll call it a mistake for lack of better word, but a mistake that has meaning, I guess. Um, so that's a couple of the things that I've done. Um, yeah, writing out thoughts around what's going on for me when I can't forgive myself. Um, One that comes up a lot is this like idea of like wasted time. And again, I have to go back into what the deeper meanings and emotions are under that, and again, giving the meaning to all the like, how is it a waste if you've gained all these things. um, for example, one thing that I've learned, that I think is really valuable is that like I have a really low bullshit tolerance in relationships now, and I have a really healthy relationship with great communication, and I'm very hyper aware of um, if they're like the warning signs for me if it's not a good relationship. um, and so I could be if I hadn't gone through that, I could be in my 30s and in a not great relationship, and then it's like now I'm 45 and starting a relationship. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that I got to experience that and get really clear on it in my 20s. Um, that's such a helpful way of looking at it. The meditation I was talking about, the soften, soothe, allow, focuses on accepting the inevitable perceived imperfections we find in ourselves with kindness and tenderness. Absolutely. That's awesome. I mean, that's a lot of the work that I mean I do with people in coaching and do for myself is this like again, this idea of accepting your imperfections, like we're not supposed to have them. We have this concept that we aren't everyone else is fine. Like they can be imperfect. I mean, maybe you don't have that perception for people, and that's a different struggle. But most people understand that other people are inherently flawed, and perhaps even believe they're doing the best they can given the tools that they have. But somehow we escaped that. Like we're like this exception to the rule. Like we were born into the world and was like, you're perfect and you're supposed to stay perfect and you're never supposed to fuck up and you're never supposed to learn anything. Um, or like never learn anything from fucking up. Or like which is when we look at it that way is just really boring, first of all. But just totally unrealistic and no wonder we're gonna create pain for ourselves as that's our expectation. So again, offering compassion to yourself or like you would a friend or trying to write that letter like you would to someone you love and care about. Um, there's a meditation or there's a practice of meditation. Actually, I was saying this to a client the other day. The first time I sort of was exposed to meditation, the practice was like meditating on someone you love, like you adore, and like wishing them all of these really good feelings and loving feelings and really like sitting in that, which is like relatively easy, can think about my cat. And then extending that, the next part was extending that to somebody that you um just like kind of know or feel kind of indifferent to, and like really wishing them well and wanting and like just feeling love for them. And then obviously the third was somebody that you don't like. Um, so I would suggest trying that same thing, but using yourself as the person, perhaps the third person that you struggle with. Hopefully you like yourself, but you have a lot, maybe if you have a lot of expectations for yourself or um, negative thoughts for yourself, really trying to extend that same feeling that you had for like your cat or your kid or your grandma or whatever, and practicing extending that onto you. But I would definitely check out this soften, soothe, allow, which is awesome. What time are we at? Oh, 14 minutes already. Okay. Well, I guess I'll wrap that up. Does anyone have any? Hey, you're just coming into the tail end of talking about self-forgiveness. So you can watch the live if you're interested, unless you have anything to add about how you practice self-forgiveness. Oh yeah, I always forget to do this. I'm not it's not the best at remembering to talk about things that I'm doing. Um, I'm talking about self forgiveness as part of a self love workshop that I'm offering, which is free. It is an hour. So we will go over what I'm calling the 7 pillars of self love. Not surprisingly, self compassion is one of them. And so will mostly be me talking. It's on Zoom and it's at 8 p.m. on May 13th, which is Wednesday, and you can sign up just by being on my mailing list. So that will go out. And if you're not, there's a link that I've posted on my last 2 entries of Instagram and on my Facebook, but also you can just go to my website and subscribe. But yeah, I'll be giving some activities and or journal prompts and a worksheet. So, it's not super in depth because it's an hour, but like, some of the stuff we talked about today, that's kind of a feel for what I'll be talking about, but I'll be less, I'll meander less because the lives are really just me kind of having a having an idea and then just kind of rambling about it and getting engagement from other people, which is awesome, which I really love because then I don't feel like I'm just talking at myself, um, which is how I spend a lot of my days. So it's nice to do it with other folks to have some real dialogue, and that's super helpful. So thank you, Lorelai. If anyone else has any other suggestions around self forgiveness or self compassion, I'd love to hear them. And please feel free, like if there's something you'd like me to talk about, um, please get at me. Or if you have a specific question, I'm always happy to talk about it if it's in my wheelhouse. Um, and yeah, that's it. I hope everyone has a loving Friday and a loving weekend, a self-loving. Um, and I'd love to hear about what your experiences have been with self-forgiveness. So until next time, be kind to yourself. And again, if you want to watch me try to close stuff down, stick around because it's entertaining. Okay, bye. Kisses. Ending it and ending.